This is a problem with tangents. I just remembered as I was leaving the room what I was talking about originally, and it's my lack of comfort. To start again, my lack of comfort, not lack of appreciation, because I do appreciate the Lego group that I actually am a registered member of now, but my lack of comfort with it. Wonderful people there, absolutely adorably awesome people there. I've done shows now, a bunch of shows. The Niagara Falls Comic Con, the Mississauga Comic Expo, Anime North is, I've mentioned this repeatedly, it is one of the best shows I've ever done. Absolutely by far, one of the best shows I've ever done. And so the shows aren't the issue. The shows are not the issue. I think it's because my first introduction to a Lego group was RTL Toronto, like a real bona fide Lego club, and we were so laissez-faire. We were so whatever. We were so again, this is the opposite of what most people thought. We were pretty easygoing, and whatever, we show up. And again, I mentioned that numerous times. The Doug and Frank show, Doug would call me up, or Frank would call me up. Dave, we're doing a show. Absolutely, we'll be there. Give me 40 by 40, 40 foot by 40 foot area, 10 tables and a bunch of chairs. That's all we need. And because I hated being a burden on the showrunners by saying, oh, I want this, I want that, I want this, whatever. No, it is, dudes, you give us what you give us. If you want to give us 40 by 40, we'll fill it. And they always did. They always said to me, we were the easiest group they ever got to deal with, which is awesome to hear. And I would throw it up to RTL Toronto. I said, hey guys, I got a show, and this is gonna be this day, and show up please. And they did. They always did. And it was nice. And I find, I guess the word is officious. It's too officious for me, too procedural for me. It's too what have you done for us? This is not the management of Turolug, which again, I know some of them, and the core members of the group are really nice people. I don't know. I don't know if it's still a sense of what happened when RTL Toronto folded, and I perfectly understand why it did, and I have no animosity towards why RTL Toronto just kind of faded. And Turolug had to be there because we needed a group in Toronto. We really did need a Lego group in Toronto. But I'm just not comfortable. I guess that's the easiest and the only way I can really put it. I'm uncomfortable with Turolug as a lug, not the people, not, I don't know. There's je ne sais quoi. It is something that sometimes percolates to the surface of how they handle specific issues, which again I'm not going to talk about because it's talking to class, and how they present themselves to me. Anyway, what I've seen, I guess. Yeah, my uncomfort stems. It's not as perfect analogy, but there are too many soap operas. There are too many soap operas with Turolug for me. And somebody's going to ask, "What do you mean?" And I'm not going to tell you. I am not going to tell you. You can, if somebody is saying, "Oh, we have to," nobody cares what Dave thinks. But there are too many, for me, soap operas, too many points of friction, too many. I'm walking into a situation not comfortable because I'm not sure what's going to set some person off or make other people feel. I don't know. And therefore, I'm still going to remain a member because I want to do shows. I want to do Anime North again, obviously. I want to do, I missed Fan Expo this year because we were camping, but I want to do, and again, I'm going to say this. I said this before. Turolug, wow, I want to be clear about this because there are sometimes I was a little disappointed because when I did shows, hey guys, I have a 40 by 40 foot area to fill, and it was full. That's the way it was. Then again, I was surrounded by a core group of people who adored shows as much as I did and wanted to show up for shows and spend a weekend just hanging out with one another. There was a dozen of us. You look at the old pictures, and again, I don't know if you can find them. We look at the old pictures, there's like 8, 10, 12 of us, and we stayed for the entire show. And we loved the entire show, and we sat there in our little circle inside a 40 by 40 area, and we gossiped, we laughed, we told jokes, we picked on one another, we talked about builds, we were showing off our stuff. The powered monorail came from one of those shows. Me and Derek and everybody else was piling on with their ideas. Oh, why'd you try this? Why'd you try that? And it was phenomenal. It was literally phenomenal. It was a cohesive group, all talking together. There was nobody off in a corner by themselves, like literally ever at one of our shows, unless they wanted to be. But there was nobody over there, and the rest of us are over here, right? And I get that feeling from Toro Luck. Now again, also because it's a huge group and you can't cater to everybody, so I get that too. Like, I'm not disparaging them for not understanding. They perfectly understand where they are. I mentioned this before. It's a volunteer organization where you have volunteers, and so you accept the way people come in. But for me, hey, you kids, get off my grass, and this is what I'm used to from before, where everything was just comfortable and easygoing. There's no problems, no fuss, no muss. We show up, we have a good time, blah blah. We take down. They talk a good line for what they want to do, and a lot of people are always, hey, we have to do more shows, and they try. I mean, Joseph himself, when he was president, called me up one day. He says, Dave, I know you love doing shows, and there's a show in Etobicoke at some sort of civic center. I can't remember. It's Old Mill Road or something over there, and love to have you. It was just me and him, and it was a day. It was like 9 to 4, and I brought the entire layout, and I loved it. I loved that little show. It was a little show. It's not a great show. It was like it was a gymnasium full of stuff. But on that show that I got to do with Joseph, I had a great time because I like hanging with Joseph, and I met Doug's wife. At that show, she was still doing shows. Doug had sorely passed away. She was still doing shows, and we got to chat, and it was wonderful. It was comfortable. It was great. It was awesome. And when I do Anime North, I get to talk to Kelly, which is just one of my favorite people ever. I get to talk to all the other people that show up at these shows. And we went to do Tilsonburg. Was fun. I'm going to say that. It was absolutely a joy to go to Tilsonburg and do a show out there. So there are so many pluses to Toro Luck, but overall, I feel uncomfortable, and for me, it's just me. It probably is, but so I'm gonna try to do my own shows. My layout is at Jamie's store still, and be there till the beginning of November or the end of October. It's going to be there because I'm doing my own shows, and I thank Jamie for allowing me to do that. I am possibly going to go see him tomorrow to verify what's going on. But my layout's going to be there for probably the entire month of the rest of September and probably part of October. And that makes me happy, doing shows. I've done shows on my own before. I'm not above doing shows on my own going forward. I still get emails from all the various collector cons and whatever cons or whatever things going on in the area, and I will be at Bricks in the Six, and I love Bricks in the Six. I'm going to support Bricks in the Six as far as I can, and Sandy and I are talking maybe next year hitting the States and some of the shows on the Eastern Seaboard, and I'll meet some of my old friends from Lugnet from way back when, and that's the hope, but I'm not booking the room yet because we have to see what happens, But and also for reals, I am slowing down because I'm getting old, and and it's, hey, you kids, get off my grass. And so I'm gonna be like, I love doing 3 or 4 shows a year back in the day. I'm not gonna look forward to doing 3 or 4 shows, but I already did. I mean, we're in September, and I did Anime North. I did Mississauga Expo. I'm going to be at Bricks in the Six in November, and my layout is at Jamie's store. That's 4 shows this year. That's 4 shows, and I did 2 back to back. Anime North and Mississauga Expo, I think, were 2 weeks apart. I didn't mind that because I didn't bring the layout to Mississauga Expo. I just brought my little things to Mississauga Expo. It was last year when we did the Newmarket show. I like that show. Torolog show in Newmarket. Fantastic. I'll keep on going to those. That's why I'm going to stay a bona fide registered member of Torolog for the shows. And I think for me is that when I hear there's hundreds plus people that belong to Torolug, and when I go to a show and there's like 7 people at Tilsonburg, and there's 2 people at the Etobicoke show, and there's the first time I did Anime North, there was some table space that was empty, and there's like 5 or 6 of us there, the same people that do all the shows, and I hear that the group has 100 plus people in it. I say they're in it for the lug bulk, period. That which cannot be mentioned, but I'll mention. That's all they're there for. They're there for the free swag at AGM. Again, I personally don't have a problem with that. But I think it's, my dad had this expression, and again, everything goes back to my dad, how wonderful he was. And it was about the church that we went to when we were growing up, and he still belonged to for the longest time. He says, I would not, if I wasn't an upstanding member of the church, I would not ask the church for church time. I would not try to abuse their auspices, their goodwillness in order to get something for me. He says, if you want to use the church for a wedding or whatever, you should belong to that church, and you should be an upstanding member of that church. You should be going to that church. You want to do that stuff, because otherwise you're just like using it for what you want to use it for, and not giving back to what they need. And he told me that when I was a kid, right? He says, do not abuse your friendship. Don't use your friends. Don't use your volunteer organizations to make you better without contributing back to the whole, the community, because then you're screwing people. And it's difficult for Toro Lug, or any lug in this instance, to keep their lug status if people don't show up to do shows. That's how you get lug status with Lego. That's how you get lug bulk in the first place. They ask, how many shows do you do? That's one of the questions they ask. What shows? What events? Then they want to itemize like. So just saying, I want to be there for the good stuff, for me, for my wants, and not contribute back to the group, it weighs on me, and that's part of my discomfort. It weighs on me that's what happens. That's what I've already seen. I've already seen it. And the people who do shows are the same people all the time. The people who do shows are very enthusiastic about doing shows. The people who do shows, I really, really appreciate. But the rest of them, where are you? Where are you? And again, I'm not saying you have to be at every show. Again, I don't want to be misconstrued. You don't have to be at every show, because that's just throwing the baby out the bathwater. But you have to contribute somehow. You have to. And I was one of these people who did not want to join Torolug, because of my history with RTL Toronto, and I'm already in Hamilton, and there's a whole bunch of excuses that I kept coming up with why I wasn't going to join Torolug. But one of them was I'm uncomfortable with them. For that, one of the reasons of what I just talked about. And that's not, again, it's not a fault of the organizers and the executives and whatever else like that. It is what it is, right? You can't pull people in to do shows. I fully understand that, but again, I didn't have to. I never have to beg for people to do shows. On the flip side, There was no lug bulk back then. There was no lug status back then. There wasn't. There wasn't any of that. That came in far after. I mean, I think RTL Toronto, um, at the end, we had lug bulk for like 2 or 3 rounds, but we were around for like a decade and a half. Before that, we did get status for the international train groups because we were doing train shows, and we went to NMRA, so we got some good swag from that. But again, we were doing train shows. We did some really good train shows back in the day. RTL Toronto, not known for its trains, was putting on some spectacular train shows, for what it was at the time. There are train clubs out there that's what they focus on, and they make spectacular layouts. Ours were okay for a show. And we went to NMRA. I didn't go, but the rest of the team went to NMRA, whichever one's a few years in a row. And so Toronto was heavily involved. RTL Toronto was heavily involved in that, which is fantastic. And anyway, all this to be said, I'm not going to talk out of class, even though I already did. I am not going to hold any kind of animosity and or lack of appreciation for the efforts that individuals put into an organization like Torolug. There are none, because I really respect that, because I know what it takes. I know what it takes. I've been there numerous times. But for me, it is the soap operas, if that's a correct parlance for it, and my uncomfortableness. And my age, because it is basically young people. No. And again, have at it, because you guys are the future. And if you're comfortable with the way it's going, then I'm not here to disrupt that flow. If Torolug itself is happy with the way Torolug is being run, have at it. Don't go changing for me. Don't think you have to change for me. Don't think you have to reach out to me to say, hey, Dave, what do you want? I don't want anything. I don't want a thing. I'm still going to show up. I'm going to still be a registered member. I'm still going to ask if you want my layout at shows, or whatever I can bring at shows, your shows, Anime North and all that stuff. I'm gonna support you where I can, and I'm gonna tell you where I can't be, because my life gets in the way. That's the way it is, and that's the way it's gonna be. But for me, I will start doing my own shows, and I'm gonna have fun doing it, because I've always had fun doing shows. But that's it. That's all I've said a million times now. Everybody out there, stay safe, take care, and I don't know if I'm gonna do this one video a day or just put them on the same day. I don't know. I'll see what happens. I'll talk to you guys soon.